Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here in Vermont. I've been here once before, but not to this part of the country. And thank you to this school. Thank you very much. Because what I have to say today, I hope will touch someone that will make your life different, and you won't make the same mistake that Lilly Ledbetter did, because it goes on for your entire life. But I'm right at home when I can get on a college or school campus. Before going to Goodyear, I was a district manager for H&R Block in Alabama, managing 14 locations. And prior to that, I was assistant financial aid director at Jacksonville State University, awarding funds and money. My husband called it spending money, which was one of my best talents, but it was good, and awarding student work jobs. But I loved working on that campus because it was always exciting, and the students always had energizing comments that kept me going day in and day out. But moving on from one job to the other in order to earn more money and to be able to support my family in a better status in America. But as the senator told you, I learned after working 19 years for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company that I was being paid 35 to 40% less than the men doing the exact same job that I was. There were 4 crews, so there were 4 of us. I hired in with Goodyear in February 5th, 1979 as a supervisor, which carried a lot of responsibility, and a lot of decisions had to be made because I was a night shift person and there were very few support people on night. Later, Goodyear decided they'd cut out a level of management, department foremans, and promote us to area managers. We were supposed to get a big pay increase. We did go to engineering school. I went to electrical, pipe fitting, and maintenance. In fact, I finished second out of about 150 trainees, and most of them were men. The plant manager called me in and congratulated me because I finished second. A friend of mine finished first, and he said, well, they didn't say a word to me. I said, well, maybe that's because you're a guy. I don't know. They expected you to know those things. But what I want to share with you today are the hardships and what this means to every family in America. The president said when he signed the bill, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, equal pay for equal work is a family affair. And I believe today, in the travels that I've done across this country, that that's part of our problem in education. It's when women, a lot of you are heads of household, you're the main support of your family. That is why education is so far behind. But I learned going in one evening for a 12-hour shift, getting my mail out of my box at work in this torn piece of paper with 3 men, 1 woman, our base pay, how much less I was making. I can tell you, I was very degraded. I felt less of a human being and less self-worth. It took a few minutes for me to get my composure back because I think my self-esteem hit the floor. I finally went into the ladies' restroom and walked around because I didn't want to see anyone right then see me feeling like I did about myself. I finally told myself that I had to get composure. I had a 12-hour shift ahead. I couldn't quit now. So I started my shift. Halfway through the night, it suddenly occurred to me, I'm paid time and half, double time, and triple time. Because when you work in a factory, your peer is out on another shift, you're required to work his shift too. The man on the opposite shift, he'd had a little league baseball player that got into the championship. They traveled. I worked his shift. He had a heart attack. He had heart surgery. He was out for quite a long time. I worked every shift he missed, and mine too. He took vacation. I worked his shift and mine too. So a lot of times, just about every month, I had time and a half, double time, and some triple. So that cost me a lot of money through the years. Working through the night, my mind couldn't help but go back and wander back to that note. Suddenly I realized my retirement is based on what I'm earning. My contributory retirement was a percentage of what I earned, and my 401k was 10% of what I earned, and Goodyear matched it by 6% stock. A lot of money I could not get. It was already gone, and I just felt exhausted thinking about how much my family had lost and the quality of education that my children would have had. And that's one of the reasons that I was always happy to work overtime to pay those college tuitions and keep them in school. The next morning I got home, I explained to my husband what I had learned. He was already retired. And I said, I need to go to the Equal Employment Commission office and file a charge unless you object. And I can tell you up front, I know that we'll be in this at least 8 years when I start. He said, what time would you like to leave? He supported me from day one, all the way through, because cases like this is hard on the individual, it's hard on their families. You do not let it consume your life. You go on with birthdays and holidays and Little League games in your life, but you're also committed to making this turn around like it should. There's a lot of work involved, but I filed the charge in 1998 in Birmingham, Alabama, and the lady who wrote up my case is still there. I just recently did a program for them, the Equal Employment Commission in Alabama, my attorney and I did, and they invited me back to do a training video for their new interviewers, because this lady spent about 4 hours with me. She never went to lunch. She didn't take a break to get a cup of coffee or eat anything. She stayed with me and she dug out every bit of the information that she needed, and my attorney told her that day at the meeting in Birmingham how well the case went because of the information she got initially. But it's important to get all of that, and you see, me being a manager, I felt ashamed to have to go in and say that I'm a manager at this big Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company in Gadsden, Alabama, but they don't pay me fair. They don't treat me fair. I also had an age discrimination case because at that time they had started forcing me out early. But I filed the charge in 1998. In early 1999, the investigator with their office called. He said, you've got one of the best cases we've ever seen. You may want to think about getting you an attorney and go forward, because we're understaffed and short-handed and piled up workload right now, so you may want to go forward. So I found an attorney, Mr. John Goldfarb in Birmingham, Alabama, with a large firm, and he took my case pro bono, because you see, I was one of those people in those statistics that lived paycheck to paycheck. I did not have the money or the funds to get an attorney that could go up against a large corporation like Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company with deep pockets. He took my case in 1999. We finally got to federal court in my home county, 2003. You see, I started in 98. We're already 5 years down the road. In 2003, the federal jury hears our case. After a week of testimony, they came back and said no on the other charges we had, age discrimination being one. But when they got to the equal pay, there was not a doubt in their mind. In fact, the foreman told my lawyer that he said, we wish and we thought that we was taking care of her because we could see the discrimination, and it was very obvious why she had been discriminated against so much, because she was a woman, nothing else.